Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. It's been a while, I know, and I apologize, but I've been busy working on my first level of the game that I'm working on, which I'm going to show as well. But today's topic is going to be about scene optimization and how to increase your FPS. This is something I've seen a lot, especially with my students. They create a beautiful looking level, but then they get like 5 FPS, right? Which means that the game is just completely unplayable, which ruins the experience. So I'm going to show you a couple tricks on how to make it look better and faster. So I've been working on this scene, right? As you can see, it has a lot going on, a lot of trees here, a lot of grass that actually moves with the wind as well, and etc. So you can imagine that by default my FPS is absolutely horrible, like 5 FPS. But with some tweaking, you can actually get it to like 60, 70, 80 FPS without too much effort. So I'm going to turn everything on here for a second, then you can see what it actually looks like. It might not look as good on the video, but it looks pretty good. It's not done yet, but yeah, you get an idea. So you can see, right, everything is moving here as well. So I got a bush here that's actually moving in the wind. Subtle, but it's there. So how to make it better, right? So first I'm gonna just start by playing the game and show you how much FPS I got. So I'm just gonna hit play and I'll show you what happens. Takes a little bit long to load, but we've got patience, right? So okay, here we go. So I got 30 FPS here, 20 FPS, barely, 20 FPS, etc. But here's the thing, right? These stats from the top right here, it gives a wrong image of how much FPS you actually get, because it's not entirely correct, right? So if you want to get a proper reading on your FPS, you actually need to go add the profiler here. This gives a much better indication on how much FPS you're actually getting. So I can now continue playing again while it's on screen. Then you can see we're getting 28, 25 FPS, which is it's not good, right? It's not good at all. But two things, right? When you're doing this in the editor, there's always the overhead of the actual editor, so it gives a wrong image. The final testing should always be done in an actual build, right? In an actual game build that will show you the actual FPS. And I haven't baked the lights yet, so I also could increase even more. But for now, you know, it's okay. So how can we get it to 60, right? So we just started with like 23, 25, 30 FPS. So I want to show you how you actually make it much higher. So first thing, there are two easy ways to do this. First one is the camera, right? So by default, my far clip plane is at 1000. This means that the camera will render objects that are 1000 units away, up to 1000 units away. So if I set this to like 10, I'll show you what happens. 10. I'm going to turn off I can play here for a second and turn on my profiler, get a better image. You actually have it, right? So it will now render 2 units in front of the camera. 10 units, sorry, 10 units. This looks fine, but then go over here, you can see that everything, I'm getting a super nice FPS though, but yeah, the game looks not like an actual game. So 10 units, right? So the default is 1000, which might be way too much for your game. In my case, I need something like, I'll show you this, right? So 100 FPS right now, 100 units, which in my case is okay, but it gives some issues. I'll show you. So this is fine, right? I can actually see the level now, it looks okay. That looks fine, but you can see the mountains in the backside and the back when I'm pointing it right now, they just appear. And the distance is a little bit too close by, right? You can see it as well with my actual level, it just pops up, right? So I need to increase it a little bit more so it's always there. So this is a little bit of tweaking, right? And finding your ideal number. Mine was like 250. I tried before, so that's why I know. Maybe yours is like 200 or 150, or it depends on the level, right? In this case, I need to be able to look far ahead, but it could be that you don't have to do that. So it's tweaking, right? The other one are called LODs, or level detail systems, which are perfect. I'm gonna add a empty game object over here real fast. I'm gonna call this tree. So an LOD is just a system that switches models based on the distance of the camera. So if it's far ahead, you don't want to have like a fully detailed object on screen, but you want to have like an approximation of it. So by using LEDs you can actually do that. So I'm going to add a level of detail group over here, and here I can actually drag in my meshes. So for example, I've got one over here, so 3 1 is my high one. The LOD is 1 and LOD 2, right? You can actually go like 4 or 5 LODs, is fine. But if I open them up, you can see them. So the first mesh has 6,000 triangles, the other one has 1,800, and the last one has 800, right? You can see the density here. You can see the shape change, right? This one is pretty blocky. This one has a little bit more detail, and this one has more detail. So in my tree here, I can go to my LOD 0 over here, and I can just drag it in. That's there. You can say reparent it, and it's there. And then the LOD 1, same thing here. And then LOD 2, we add the other one. In this case, this one. Yes. So by looking at the distance, it will just blend them in between, right? So it goes from here. So this is the LOD 0, the high poly mesh. One lower, and then even one lower, and then yeah, cold. So it's gone. Cold means gone. You can also have that as like a crossfade, so you can't really tell when they actually start changing the meshes. Otherwise, you get a pop, right? You get a different pop. It's really annoying. So you kind of want to make sure that you use this. And usually it's like 4 or 5 levels of LOD. That's really common. And the last one is usually just a plane, which is the image of the actual object. In this case, for my intention, it's fine. So we can also like change them over here. So you can have say that cold should be a little bit further away. You can just play around with these. And then you get a little bit more like this. This saves a lot of FPS, It's ridiculous. So I've pretty much got everything LOD'd here already. So without it, I don't think I'd be able to run this scene at all. So make sure you do that. Okay. So what do we have left? I'm gonna maximize this again, so we can actually like make a fair comparison. So right now, I should already see an increase of FPS a little bit. I'm going to hit Ctrl 7 again, which is the profile. Ooh, I just hit my shoot button. So we went from like 20 FPS, 25 FPS. We got a little bit more now, because the drawing distance a little bit more. We're not like 30, right? A little bit over 30, which is it's a good start. It's a good start, but we're not done yet. Not even close. So how can we even do? Well, how can we add more, right? So over here, right, you can see batches. And save by batching, these are called draw calls. So every draw call is a command to the GPU like, hey man, render an object on screen. So imagine like you have like a forest of 1,000 trees, right? And it's just a single tree model, but it's just scaled differently or positioned differently and etc. Without batching, that's called batching, Unity would see it as 1,000 unique individual trees, even though that's complete bullshit, right? Because it's the same model. So by turning it to batching, it will tell Unity like, hey man, it's the same model, so just make it easy on yourself and to see it as a single object. So the 1,000 trees will be seen as a single object, which just saves a lot of FPS. Now by default, right, in the new Unity, you can actually turn on GPU instancing over here, right? So an instance is, it's not a copy of it, it's like looking at an object and duplicating it without making an actual copy. So you can have 1,000 trees, again 1,000 trees, but instead of like again 1,000 different trees and different trees itself, you just set to an instance, which means it's like a lighter version of a copy, right? It's just a light version of copy. That's pretty much what it is. So you can also test it here as well. So make sure that you turn it on. It's free FPS. If you just get it for free, there's no reason why not to use it, right? So that's one thing as well. Other one is if it doesn't move, set to static. Period. There's no discussion. Set to static. So in here, my world here, there's like all the rocks and all the other objects. They don't move. So I'm gonna set to static. Done. Almost done. There it is. That will also definitely increase your FPS. In this case, my foliage, right, since it's moving with the wind, I can't do that, right? I can't make it static, because then they don't move again. But what I can do though is I can set it to occluder static, occlude static for the occlusion culling, and batching static. This one especially, so I actually use batching. navigation static, because I want to use it as well for my nav mesh, and reflection probe, so it will show up in the reflection probes. Same here for my trees here as well. So again, occlude static, occlude D static, batching static, the most important one, navigation static for my nav mesh, and reflection probe. So that will probably already save a lot of FPS, right? So I'm going to hit play again. I'm going to show you. And almost there. It takes a little while longer now. Oh, there it is. That sound. Okay. It's gonna wait for it to load completely. It's still loading. There we are. Okay. A couple of hiccups here. It's still loading because of the editor. Okay, I'm gonna turn on Ctrl 7 again. So my actual. Okay, here we go. Whoa, I got lost here. There we go. Whoop, where are we? There we are. So similar location. I'm already pushing 60 FPS here. 60 FPS. By just setting some checks here, I've just doubled my FPS in a heartbeat. So I'm already above 60 FPS, right? And this is still in the editor. Let's keep in mind it's still in the editor, right? So if in a build, it's going to be even higher. So you don't have the overhead of the editor. Perfect, right? We're almost done, right? We can do even more, right? The next step would be called occlusion culling, right? Which means that if something is not visible, so if something is behind an object, which means it's not visible for camera, don't render it, right? So you can imagine imagine that there's a giant mountain, and behind that mountain is a city. By default, Unity will render that city, right? Because it's in the camera frustum, so it's going to get rendered, even though we can't actually see it, which it's just a waste of space, waste of time, right? By using occlusion culling, we actually say, okay, if it's not visible for the camera, it's like behind an object, or behind a mountain, or a character, or a barrel of chocolate, I don't care, don't render it. That's called occlusion culling. So I've done this already because it takes a little longer than I expected to actually render this out. So occlusion culling by default means that, again, if it's not visible, don't render it. I'm going to put on visualization, and you see that everything just disappears completely, except for the part my camera can actually see over here, right? But I've actually turned it off for this purpose of this video. I've turned off occlusion culling in my camera setting. So I go here now and turn on occlusion culling, and go back here, visualization. So the only thing the camera will actually render out is what we see right now on screen. This is it. This is the only thing the camera will actually render out, but everything else is simply not visible for the camera. So this is going to add, again, a lot of FPS, or it can add a lot of FPS here. Again, I'm going to hit play here. It takes a little longer now, I suppose. Would be nice if it, oh, does something. For now, it has to do all the batching of all the foliage on screen, and also the occlusion culling. So that's why it takes a little bit longer to load. There we go. Again, Ctrl 7 here. I'm just gonna hit. Okay, here we go. So now I'm aiming at about like 70 FPS. 70-ish, maybe even 80, occasional 80 FPS here. It's really nice. And also look at the batches top right. That's that statistics. Batches 4,543, and saved by batching 3,253. So that means we just saved more than 3,000 calls on the GPU, which would just add more FPS. And looks pretty good. And actually runs smooth. I got no issues here. I can play it nice. There's no real hiccups going on anywhere. It's hard to play with the actual profile on screen, but you get it. So now I got a little hiccup here, right? Because it has to find all the objects again that it needs to render out. Because I'm gonna show you how it actually looks like. The occlusion culling, it's actually really fun. People's minds are often blown when they see this. I'm gonna grab my game view here. I'm gonna turn off. Next, pass on play, and over here I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller here. There you go. I'm gonna hit play now, and you can see what's gonna happen with the actual scene that we're looking at. This is really fun. Again, it takes a little bit longer. There you go. So actually, like, it only renders out the part of here, but when I turn my camera, it's going to add more and more and more stuff, right? Zoom out here real fast so you can see. I'm turn off this one. There you go. Okay. You can see, right, if I turn my camera around, it's gonna check, hey, what can the camera actually see, what can't it see, and if I should render it or not. Super nice, as you can probably imagine. When you get further ahead, you can see more and more and more. And everything you can see, right, everything behind the camera as well just gets deleted instantly. Because we don't need it. We don't need it at all. There's actually a plane there that I just saw, that I think it's a water plane, which I probably also turn off, but yeah. Again, super simple method, which saves you a lot of FPS. A lot. But you can see, I mean, look at the number, right? The triangles on screen, 20.5 million. Oops. It just looks really cool, right? It looks really cool. So it's not difficult, right? So by just doing a couple of things, you can more than double your FPS, more than double it. But again, make sure that you check the final FPS in an actual build, because that will actually show you the proper number instead of getting an estimation or an approximation of the actual FPS in the scene. So make sure you do that. But this 4 or 5 things will dramatically increase it, so make sure that you use them. I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying that you should. That makes any sense. So hopefully I can make another video again pretty soon. I should be able to do that, but I don't know about what topic yet. So if you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. But for now, I'm gonna say thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.